All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the ConquerCast. I'm super stoked for today's guest. This is Eric Chesser from Hush. I just saw you in my window when I was on that Zoom. You came in, and it's been a little while since I've seen Eric, so probably since the Hunt Expo last year, which I apologize, so much time has passed by, but Eric's been a part of Mountain Ops from the very, very beginning, and an individual that I owe a lot of gratitude to for many reasons. Obviously, your support of Mountain Ops and the things you've done to bring awareness to it. But if you read certain sections of my book, I talk about my journey in the hunting industry and in hunting in just in general as a lifestyle and a passion that now has become so much a part of me and my family's lives. And I can look back and say there was a particular moment where I got fired up, and it was over the Fireball. In fact, my son Beckham, after that video, called every bull that we saw a Fireball. A Fireball. It was like that. It was branded.
An elk was a Fireball.
An elk was a Fireball. And but I remember going to the Hush movie night, and Mountain Ops was sponsoring it. This was in 2015, February of 2015, and we're coming up on the expo next month. I had somebody that I was driving with that said, hey, hunting movies, sometimes they're boring, sometimes there's this and that. And that individual came away from it like, holy cow, blown away. I came away blown away. So I think the films that he had seen weren't what he was about to witness with you and Casey. And so I kind of went into it thinking, okay, this is going to be not super exciting, whatnot. I was like, had the chills multiple times. I was crying a little bit sometimes. I was looking around. This was my first like engagement with the industry. Yeah. So it was a little intimidating. There's some alpha males that are a part of it. They're bearded, big guys that are tough, tough as nails. They're out on the mountain. That's where they live. That's what they do. And so I was a little intimidated going into it. You and Casey brought me under your wings in a way that I hadn't experienced. And then as I watched you guys hunt, the stories were spectacular, but I found that there was more respect from you guys for these animals than what I ever could have imagined. It wasn't this bloodthirsty thing with hunting. It was this respect for the land, for the animal, for the process that you go through, what that's going to mean for your family, bringing it home, enjoying the outdoors, disconnecting from the world, all these things. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling way too much in this introduction.
Love it.
But I need people to know that had a major, major impact on the course of what I would do at Mountain Ops. Because I could just be a part of fueling this passion that I was now a part of, or I could dive in and experience it for myself. And you literally fired me up over that. And then you're just a super kind, humble guy. I don't think there's anyone out there that would have a bad thing to say about Eric Chesser. And so, in this time frame where I was trying to understand the industry, you treated me with so much respect and so much friendship and support that I, my goal and my dream and my desire was to just learn more and more from you, from Casey, from Brian. And so I've watched from a distance. I mean, we're close, but it's not like we're hunting with each other every year. I would love to, but you guys are busy. You have your own thing going. I've got stuff with Mountain Ops, but just I've paid attention to the things that you guys do and how you do it. And I just have so much respect for you and appreciate you taking some time to be here today.
Well, man, thank you for saying all that. It's kind of wild to think what a first experience like a non-hunter would have. Obviously, I've hunted and been in the hunting space for so long, and making the Fireball video, I was super excited about that because I thought it was like this 1 in a million video, and I was just dying to share it. But I don't think I've ever stepped back and thought, okay, what would an experience be like for someone who has never watched hunting? Yeah. And then add, like you said, a crowd, tons of people, a big movie theater. That's pretty wild to think that played such a impact in your life and has led to now, like you said, hunting with your family. We just shared, before we turn on the podcast, some of the special moments you've had with your dad, and now your mom is getting into it. And I guess it's just proof that, sharing content, you never know who you're going to inspire. You never know where it's going to go.
100%. Has that kind of been part of your mission all along? Like not knowing what the ripple effect would be, but oh yeah, this is
when I think about like, why do I do what I do, which is capture, document, and share. In my opinion, it's so, I'm just Eric, you know. Some people see the following on social media or all the subscribers, and they make their assumptions about me, good or bad. But when I peel back the onion of like, what even is this? In my book, nothing's changed since I was a teenager. So in high school, I took photography class, and that was back in the black and whites. You know, you take pictures, you go develop the film, and you print out the photos, you put them through all the different formulas. And that's what really grabbed my desire to capture. And then maybe a short year or two after that, I asked for a video camera for Christmas from my parents.
That's awesome.
You know, bless them both, because I know they financed that thing.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and I know that we had an RC Willie account.
Wow.
You remember RC Willie?
Yep.
And I know that my parents financed a camera. But what I was getting at is I didn't have a lot of friends back in high school that could go hunting or cared to go hunting. I mean, my friends were snowboarding, skateboarding. You know, we're here in Salt Lake. It's pretty.
So you grew up here in Utah?
Right here in West Jordan.
Okay.
And I discovered this love for wildlife and to document it. So it started with like calling elk and finding shed antlers. And I would just love to go capture and then race home and share it with whoever would sit down. And that was typically like my mom and dad, maybe my little brother, and like any friends that I can just like snag them for 10, 20 minutes to plug in the video and the audio cables on the VCR and share it. And my hope was that, because I felt like everyone was like missing out on all this cool stuff. Yeah. You know, my friends are skaters, snowboarders, we're doing that, and that's fun, and you can find passion in that as well, which I used to have. But I would go out into the woods and be like, people need, you know, have a bull elk bugle in your face. Yeah. Be like, dude, how are there not more people out here doing this? I need to show them. Yeah. And so my way of hopefully inspiring my friends or family to come with me is I had to go get it, document it, bring it back, put it on the TV, and be like, see, this is so fun. You need to come with me. And now the audience is just to the hundreds of thousands, but it hasn't changed. I want to capture content. I want to share really cool experiences in hopes that it inspires somebody to go do the same.
Wow. That's powerful. And I love that was part of like your upbringing and what you were all about from the get-go. And then to look at the ripple effect, yes, you have hundreds of thousands. You're sitting across from one who, I mean, I not only have gotten my family involved, but you kind of talk about, I would call it FOMO, fear of others missing out. Like you were out there filming and you wanted people to experience it, right? It's like eating at a good restaurant and you're like, you've got to try this, or seeing a good movie. I can't tell you how many times I've told people go watch the Fire Bull film, you know, but it's not called that, right? It's
called the craziest archery elk hunt ever. Than like the Fire Bull.
Yeah, cool. But me getting involved and feeling that, obviously I was now in this industry, but at first I wasn't sure if it was something I would do. But now I have this fear of others missing out. So a lot of people notice for me, when I'm out on hunts, I'm usually taking either a child, a mother, a father, a wife, my wife, or somebody from Mountain Ops that hasn't ever done it before. In fact, I created a hunt draw last year to incentivize the team and those that don't get to get out and do that kind of stuff or have never done it, that they get to be involved in it, because so often it was just a small group of us that were doing it. But my passion behind it now is like, you've got to learn, you've got to understand what we're doing out here. And I still feel like I've got a long ways to go. I'm still learning. But the number of people you've impacted just through me and what I've done, you know, here at Mountain Ops, it's tremendous what you guys are doing and educating people that way. So that fear of others missing out is real. And you guys are, you know, you could take something that you love and just keep it to yourself. Yeah. Or you could show people like, here's a way of finding some incredible joy and excitement in life. And let us show you how we're doing it. You can go do the same. Yeah. Right?
It'd be pretty selfish to keep it all to yourself, you know? Yeah. And we get a lot of pushback, and people, you know, might say, hey, you're bringing too much awareness to shed antler hunting. It's harder. I can't go find them. And I always tell people, like, what I do is kind of a double-edged sword, But if at the end it impacts people's lives positively, and like maybe someone finds where I shed hunt or finds where I go hunting, like I'm willing to lose that or sacrifice that to some degree for someone else to discover this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because it's shaped who I am. Like I don't know what my life would be without hunting, and I do think about that often. So I did grow up in California.
Okay.
I was born in Utah, and my family moved to Fremont, California. It's kind of around the Bay Area. And my dad was an iron worker. Okay. So back then, the 80s, 90s, right? All the boom for San Francisco and everything. So he went out there to chase work. But I was very involved in team sports out there and not hunting.
Okay.
And then when we moved to Utah, that's when I discovered, hunting and animals and wildlife. And I always just wonder, like, who would I be without hunting?
Did your dad do this too? Or
so my dad's from Fillmore. It's central Utah, small community. Grew up hunting to where, dude, I love my dad so much. Like, I have to remind people and tell people this story. Like, my dad grew up hunting to consume meat. Their family was poor. They had a lot of children. It seems to be like my grandma maybe bounced around relationships to some degree. So there was a lot of kids with different men. Yeah. And they hunted to sustain the family. And it was probably the year my dad turned 71. I always put in for him, as times have changed. It went from like getting your deer tag or your elk tag down at the gas station to, the electronic applications. So I've always taken that upon myself to apply for my dad. And I think we're on year 9 or 10 of putting in for Utah's big game elk hunt. Yeah. I always wanted him to have like a quality hunt because he typically just does cow or spike. Yeah. And he called me up when it was application season. He said, son, it's like $15 every year to put in for that dang, limited entry elk tag. And then if we draw it, it's $360. And I just like couldn't believe. He's like, don't put me in. I'm like, Dad, you're out of your mind. Like you're getting close to where you can draw. Yeah, but a spike tag's $35 down at, go to the office and get it over the counter. And plus the meat's better. Yeah. And so he had no desire to hunt a giant bull. Huh. He just wanted to hunt to fill the freezer. Wow. But I ended up putting in for him, and he drew out that year, and we went and had an amazing hunt. Yeah. And he got to see elk come in and come into the calls and bugle them in with decoys and kind of like you shared, before this podcast turned on, like we got to spend 9 days hunting elk, and he almost shot one in the first 20 minutes. And I looked at him, and it was the biggest bull we saw of the whole hunt. And I said, Dad, why this bull is bugling like 60 yards in the oak brush? I was like, Dad, do you want your hunt to be over? And he said, no, let's not end it. Ends up being the biggest bull we saw in the whole hunt. And then he killed on day 9. Wow. A smaller one. But yeah, it's just there's so many people out there that they still hunt for meat. And it's fun to do it too. But I feel like some people have lost that. They forget. I have to remind people of that story. Hey, there's guys like my dad who they don't even want a 6-point. They want a spike, Yep. No,
that's awesome. What was the highlight of that hunt with your dad? What did that mean to you and to him?
We got to share camp together, and a lot of people assume that like I just grew up hunting with like my family, but I didn't. And I love my dad to death, but his lifestyle was different than mine. Mm-hmm. And when he'd go hunting out with his buddies, it turned into a party. Yeah. And, I don't drink, I don't party. And so here I am, young kid, I'm a go-getter. I want to hike over every mountain and they want to sleep in and, they were drinking and getting drunk at night. And unfortunately, because of that, I didn't hunt with my dad a lot. And he's made a lot of progress, and I'm so grateful. He's way healthier now. He's not living that lifestyle like he was. But awesome. That was, people would just assume I just hunt with my dad. But I don't. I never did because of the reasons I just shared mostly. Right. And to have a hunt that was dedicated to us time, like not his guy friends, not drinking all night. And it was me and my brother and my dad. And so cool. We got to call in elk so close. He got to see elk bugle up close. And he's always seen my videos, and he's always like heard them out there in the woods, but he's never got to experience. And I just remember like, son, you're pretty good at whistling those things in, you know, that's pretty
in.
cool. Yeah, whistling them in. And just to share, I'm so thankful that he didn't shoot that first bull too, because I'm busy. You know, we got other hunts. I got other tags to go hunt and film for Hush. And we got to spend 9 days on the mountain doing what I love, my favorite thing with my dad. That's just the best. So everything from calling the elk to missing a couple elk, you know, just to think that my dad like missed a couple shots that were just layups. I'm like, his buck fever must have been pretty serious. And the guy's killed a lot of wildlife, a lot of deer, handful of elk. So yeah, man, it was just the whole experience, being able to spend 9 days on the mountain. That's together, awesome. Doing what we love, uninterrupted by anybody else, really. And
that's such a gift. I mean, it's so hard to find these days. So you even certain outdoor sports like skiing or mountain biking, you're gone for a few hours and you're back. You know? That's what I love about hunting. There's my church used to have this saying. It was like, family, it's about time. And I always say, like, hunting, it's about time. Like, I love it. It's about this time and attention out in the great outdoors, and you're enjoying God's creations and his creations that are greatest of all, us, you know, and we get to enjoy that time together. And now with my dad having passed, and you got to meet my dad loved you. Cool. And I remember getting photos of you guys down in St. George or something. You ran into him at a little breakfast joint or something, but
a restaurant or something.
And it makes me hear stories like this and like, yes, please, those that are listening, take time with those you love, because you don't know that, you know, the day or the time when they might be called home, or it might be their last hunt or whatever it is. So take the time, spend the time, enjoy the time. Don't take the first shot. You know, it's okay if it's a shot on the last day, or you don't get a shot at all. If what really matters is those relationships, then spend it, you know? So that's awesome. So growing up, you kind of just went out on your own with the camera then.
Yeah. I mean, my friends, I'm still great friends with my high school buddies, and they reminded me recently, like, yeah, you lived a double life. We didn't know where you went, you know, like you were just gone. Eric just disappeared on the weekends. So as soon as I got my driver's license, I was solo hunting, camping, picking up sheds.
Were your parents just good? Like, go do your thing, or like some parents would be scared, like, hey, you're out on the mountain.
My parent, we had a Suzuki Samurai. Still my favorite car. When people ask, "What's your dream car?" I'm like, a stock original, hardtop Suzuki Samurai, and I almost bought one like a month ago. But yeah, they were so relaxed. My parents were so relaxed. I never had the curfews that other kids had. I could sleep over at my friend's house. You know, I think my parents really trusted me.
Trusted you.
You know, I was never in trouble or anything. But yeah, when I came 16 years old and I had a driver's license, I could disappear for a few days, and I think they'd just be like, he'll show up when he's done, you know? So yeah, they let me have all that freedom to go out and do what I liked.
That's awesome. A lot of guys like you that love the outdoors, they just go out and they do that, and they don't have a camera. Like, how did the combination, was it just wanting to show people, wanting to educate people, wanting to give people a glimpse into what you were doing, or you know, what was it about that?
Like I said, I think through the photography process, it was just so fun to capture and then have a moment that you can look back at. You know, if it was a still photo, you had it and you could hold it and you can look back and remember that memory. And then video is just like the next level of that. So I would say a couple things. I did skateboard and snowboard, so I was always the kid with the fisheye lens, you know, filming my buddies skateboard on a curb or a rail. And same with snowboarding. We'd go build a jump, and everybody jump in the snow and, you know, try backflips. And I was just always the kid in the group with the camera. Okay. And I just loved to capture, and then it was so fun for me, even if it was a snowboard sesh, just to go plug in those audio video cables and old VHS and relive it, you know, rewatch it. So I always just had capturing just stuck with me.
Cool.
Documenting stuff just was something I truly enjoyed, and I truly loved to share it with others. And I'd say that rolled into like the internet coming about. Yeah. And I went and financed my own desktop, you know, the big old computer machine with a big old boob tube monitor and hook up to the dial up.
AOL.
Yeah, dude. And, you know, chat forums were discovered. And again, I wanted to learn so much, man. Like I would consume any magazine, any hunting VHS, any newspaper article, anything I can grab to try to learn more about hunting, to learn about deer, their habits, elk, shed antlers, anything like that I would consume. So once I got the computer, I found things like monstermuleys.com. There's Muley Maniacs and a couple other ones that were early, you know, in the chat forum days. And again, the way I looked at it was like, I was consuming as much content from this community, right? We'll call the hunting community. Eric was taking. And my way of giving back was to share and post my stories. So, you know, that's where you learned about Photo Bucket and how to post photos into a chat thread. And man, I really loved connecting with other people who shared a similar passion with me because they weren't around me.
Yeah.
My friends weren't shed hunters. They were all skaters and snowboarders.
Yeah.
So to be able to get on the internet and find people in Arizona or, you know, anywhere really that also had a passion for shed hunting was just like, it's like that Step Brothers, section when they're out in the garage or like, you like karate? You like karate? Like, do we become best friends? Is you can instantly have something in common with people. So, you know, sharing on the chat forums was just my way of giving back to the community, providing some entertainment through storytelling. And I just always had that like desire to share. And because of that, the filming and the documenting has just since become habit.
Yeah.
And it didn't even hit me. It's been a few years now, and I've probably shared this on a couple podcasts. But I did a Q&A on Instagram. Someone's like, do you ever get sick of filming your hunts? That one question has probably never like paused my brain and had to think of the answer as any other question. You're just spitballing answers like, yeah, here's my response. This one was like, you ever get sick of filming your hunts? And I just had to sit there. My response internally, the first thing that came to my mind was, I don't know any different.
It's just part of the hunt.
Yes. I've done this since I was 12.
That's what you do.
Eric Chesser has never gone into the mountains and not documented something. That's weird to use. I'm not that guy who's like, Eric Chesser calling myself third person. Calm alone. Yeah, like I don't know what it's like. It doesn't exist in my world to go into the mountains with the goal of finding an elk, finding an antler, and not documenting it.
It's like
it's never happened.
Going in without a rifle. You don't go in or a bow. It's like you don't go in without a camera.
Yeah, I just don't know any different. So now for some people, say something cool is about to happen, or they're in a moment to maybe even take a shot or film or pick up an antler. My habit, my first response is to reach for the camera. That's Eric. That's my habit. Where others might be like, man, I find it so hard to film once I'm out there. I'm so excited and I'm just like in it and I want to pick up the antler. I want to take the shot. I'm opposite. As soon as something is cool, is like, I need to capture it. So is it a head camera? Is it the cell phone? Is it get the DSLR out? That's my habit.
Interesting.
That's all I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That was a question where I was like, no one's really asked me that before. And
that's powerful. Did you anticipate, growing up and always having the camera, that you were going to do something like that for a living? Is this like, when did that start to click? Like,
there was a middle school or high school, in class, what do you want to be when you grow up?
It was that early, huh?
And my answer was, I want a hunting TV show.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
And so, back then it was all television, right?
Yeah.
Before the digital era.
Yep.
And to be on hunting television, you basically had to purchase your spot.
Yep.
So, as a young guy trying to get out and make content and share, you're just hoping, to be honest, I always thought, someone will discover me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Someone will come and just be like, Eric, we love what you do. You're the guy on the show. Mm-hmm. And someone would hold my hand through this process. But instead, it's gone from, DVDs, which I did years ago, to meeting Casey, my partner now in Hush, who taught me about YouTube and, showed me the ropes. And I was using YouTube at the time to promote the DVDs, but I wasn't using it to put the content on. And
what were the DVDs called?
So I was a part of a group called Tines Up. They're a local company.
Yep.
And we had some They Shed 'Em, I Find 'Em, were the shed hunting series, Above and Beyond, some of the classics. Back then in those times, I think, it was Tad, me, Lance, Reggie. I think we were producing some of the coolest stuff at the time.
Yeah.
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 And we were using maybe Facebook or maybe YouTube to like, put the highlight reel on and like, oh, buy the DVD.
Yeah.
And it's shifted to where now you put the content on for free and you monetize it in some other way, right?
Yeah.
But before we were trying to monetize the content.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible to watch what you guys have built over the last, it's been 10 years, right? With Hush.
Yeah.
And you were doing that, doing the DVDs. How did you and Casey come together? How did Hush come to be?
It's a really cool story, and it's years in the making. I'll tell my perspective, and then because Brian gets plugged into to Hush, but he was also plugged in before myself and Casey. But my perspective is back in the Tines Up days, we were a big part of the hunting expo. The Tines Up booth had a giant booth, and we were selling a ton of merchandise. We had the chat forum, and we had the DVDs, right? So we were monetizing content through merchandise.
Yeah.
And so we had a big booth space, and I remember specifically that Casey Butler came up to me at in the Tines Up booth and said, "Hey man, my name's Casey. Love what you guys do. I think you guys make some of the best hunting content out there." He's like, "I really think you should put it on YouTube. I make a living off of YouTube." That's how he introduced himself. And a light bulb went off in my head. I said, "You make a living on YouTube? How?" He's like, "Yeah, man, we should totally sit down. I'd love to explain it to you, but I love your guys' content. You guys are just doing cool stuff. You're making a living in hunting, and, I think you should do YouTube." So again, at this time, we were only using YouTube for like some teasers and highlight reels. So for a full calendar year, I started analyzing YouTube, and I really started to learn how people were monetizing content. Everything from discount codes to buy my product to use the link in the description. And I started to speak the language, and I would literally watch family vlogs because Casey came from like the vlogging world. Not that I would sit and like digest a bunch of content, but I would find like makeup and beauty, a guy who does fitness vlogs, a guy who does prank channels and has a vlog channel. And I just would like sit there and look at them all and study them. And for me, the one thing in common they all had is they kind of had that vlog, right? Like that's what it was. It was this intimate, "Hey guys, what's up?" You're speaking, "Hey YouTubers," like they're really speaking to you as the viewer. And then, so a year goes by and I'm like, dude, I'm sold on this platform. Like this is the way that people are going to digest content. And I had played Facebook tag with Casey for a full calendar year. And I'm back at Hunt Expo in the Tines Up booth. And Casey comes and finds me again.
2014?
It must have been
13.
13.
Okay.
And hey, taps me on the shoulder, turn around. It's Casey Butler. And, at this point I was watching his channel. It's called Hushin' with Levere. And he's like, "Hey, you remember me?" And I'm like, dude, I just looked at him. I'm like, "Yes, I remember you. I want your help. I'd love to learn from you about this YouTube thing and how it works." He's like, "Cool, man. I'm living in California right now, but I'm coming back for a turkey hunt after Hunt Expo. We'll sit down." So Casey took his time to sit down with me, and we built the Tines Up YouTube channel. And he showed me how to monetize it. Like you add your bank and you create like a Google AdSense account. And then he was just, we were spitballing ideas, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it's all about consistency on YouTube. So like you should upload once a week." And he's like, "You could call it Tines Up Tuesday." That was Casey's idea. And they're still using the hashtag to this day, Tines Up Tuesday. All the big shed hunting communities, still using that hashtag. Cool. So he taught me that. We built the Tines Up channel over some time. That partnership split ways. And when I split ways, it was just me and Casey started these conversations like, what can we do together? We got to do something together, right? So he had the Hushin' with Levere channel, and I remember it had 69,000 subscribers at the time, and it was just his side hustle where he made income on his vlog channel.
Interesting.
Him and Brian were already friends. They met on Monster Muleys. We call it like the dating site for hunters, So they had connected through the chat forums, and they had gone on a hunt in New Mexico together. And that's when Casey pitched Brian this idea, like, "Yeah, I do this hunting channel." And Brian just thought it was really, really cool and started helping Casey get product, usually product sponsorships.
Gotcha.
So back then, if they can even get a Camp Chef or a backpack for free, that was cool, So then I had filmed in 2013 the Fireball video that you were talking about, but it had never been shared before.
Okay.
And
were you just waiting for the right time because of the story, or what?
Well, back in the Times Up days, it would have been in the next hunting DVD, but the next DVD was going to be a shed hunting video, which would have pushed back the Fireball being in the next hunting. Okay. So it would have been like years down the road.
Gotcha.
Well, when we split ways as a business partnership, that was my content.
Right.
And it had never been shared. But one thing I did was the movie night. Okay, so this goes back to my snowboarding background. When I was big into snowboarding, these local snowboarders were just shredding, and they were cool, right? And they were the cool kids. They lived up in the Cottonwoods, and they're professional snowboarders, and they would host these movie nights where they would premiere their DVD.
Yeah.
Okay, so flashback to the Times Up days, I was like, I'm always that guy who's watching other mainstream media stuff going, that's a good idea. Why can't we do that in hunting? And I take it to hunting.
Cool.
And so I was, to my knowledge, one of the first to rent a movie theater to premiere a DVD, hunting DVD. So for Times Up, I did that for 3 years.
Oh, cool.
And so down in Taylorsville, close to where I live, there was a dollar movie.
Yeah.
And I just remember calling them like, hey, do you guys ever rent out your theater? Like, I want to have a movie night. And so for 3 years in a row, the Wednesday night before Hunt Expo started, I had Times Up DVD movie premieres.
How cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the movie
awesome.
night started. So when we broke up, here comes the 2015 year, and I'm no longer with Times Up. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to Casey, what can we do? What can we do? And I already visioned in my head that Fireball would be shared on the big screen.
Yeah.
That was going to be my drop. That was going to be the thing, right? But I was kind of lost and just, not sure where I was going to go with my career. I was working at a gym, selling gym memberships at the time.
I think you were helping us with customer service.
Shortly after that. Shortly after. Okay. So I remember I was at the gym and I was sitting on a bench right in front of the dumbbells, and I texted Casey because I filmed a hunt of his in Idaho that he had not shared on his YouTube.
Okay.
So I knew that there was 2 elk hunt films that have never been seen.
Huh.
So I text Casey. I said, hey, man, would you want to rent the movie theater with me the Wednesday night before the Hunt Expo? And he just wrote back in caps, hell yeah, 5 exclamation marks. So that's where me and Casey kind of came together for the first time to have a movie night. So I shared the Fireball, and he shared his Idaho archery elk hunt, which was super cool. And then he shared, I think, a pronghorn hunt with his kid. So yeah, we rented the theater. We rented 2 rooms. So we started one at like 6, welcomed everybody, ran across the hall, started one at 7, came back, closed this one. So that was kind of a moment for us. That was the aha moment. And it was Brian who sat down at dinner and was like, it was Brian on one side of the table, me and Casey on the other. We're cutting away at our steaks. And Brian looks at me and he goes, Eric, you should join Casey. Casey, you should bring Eric on because Eric has what you need, which is time and editing and content. And Casey has what you need, which is a big platform, 70,000 eyeballs. And so that was that aha moment after the Hunt Expo and not after the Hunt Expo, but after the movie night, we kind of like, we need to do this and make it a business. And, again, the channel was called Hushin' with Levere. Yeah. Casey changed it to just Hushin'. And then that's when I left the gym and started working at Mountain Ops. And I was one of the first customer service. Yeah. I'd answer phones and emails, and then I would fulfill and put the stickers on the bottles and ship.
In the back of that car dealership.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And it was so funny because I remember, it's like the vision, and I'm probably not alone in this vision, but when it came time, like, hey, Eric, would you want to come down? And, you guys were talking to me, and Harbertsons brought me down. I remember they're like, yeah, we got a gym, we got a warehouse, an office. And so you paint the picture, and the picture I painted which is this
where we're
this
at now.
Building now. But then they bring me into the car lot, and they bring me into like a chain link dog kennel that had like free weights and like a couple random machines. It was legit in a dog kennel.
And I think I was the only one that ever used that. Maybe used it as well.
Oh, man.
It was a dog kennel.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a chain link section for our
100%.
product. And,
And then, so I'm just like, they painted this pic. I was thinking that it would be a full build out gym and this Mountain Ops was a big company. No, it was in the corner of a car dealership. The gym was like hodgepodge stuff, legit in a dog kennel, in a like auto body shop of a car dealership. The other side across the hall had the warehouse. And it had,
we were building shelves out of the pallets that were delivering our product so that we'd have, get product off the floor and stuff. And
I did it all. I put the stickers on the bottles. We shipped out so much stuff. I remember the first big promotion that was there was the truck for $1.
Yeah.
And we were not prepared for that. I mean, I had no clue what I was doing in the back, and we had a lot of people like shipping out, the wrong item, and then the Diesel Brothers would come, and
we'd have their products there.
They'd bring like Ninja Stars and stuff.
And we're sticking them in the
bro, like it's so funny to look back at that and just be like, to see what Mountain Ops has become, and just to know where it started from the ground level up. It's so cool, man.
Yeah,
it's one of the coolest success stories of all time. And Hush was right there from the very beginning. So much a part
of it. I mean, Hush. I mean, your name, your face, your personality, everything. You and Casey and Brian, like, it's almost like you couldn't mention one brand without mentioning the other.
We were glued at the hip.
Yeah.
People thought I owned the dang thing. You know what I mean? That's good. Back in the early days. People just thought we were all a part of it and all doing the same thing. But yeah, we had the Hush stuff, so we started our e-commerce store. So you guys were nice enough to give us a couple shelves.
That's right.
Pallet shelves, and we were hustling shirts and hats, and I was out there taking product photos on the pallets. Yep. And I mean, dude, it's so cool. We've learned so much. It's just it's the coolest story.
What's like, I know it's hard to narrow it down to one, but like you look back at the last 10 years of what you guys have created and done, like was there a moment where it's like, this is it, or this learning, what I'm experiencing right now is everything I hope for? I don't know. Was there, or is there just too many to kind of pinpoint?
For me, when I don't know, the first thing that jumps to my head is when I bought my first house, my only house, and I got to build my dream garage. Yeah. Right. So
that's got to be one of the most famous garages on the internet.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the most viewed.
Most viewed, right?
Yeah. It's pretty wild because I've never made a lot of money, Trevor. Like, I wanted to be in the hunting space my whole life, and I would sacrifice anything to do it. And I could live on pennies. And, I had a couple jobs early in the financial world. I worked at Discover Card, and I'd talk to people that were in debt all day, every day. And I learned about credit score and how interest was accrued and how finance charges were billed. And dude, I just wanted none of that. Like, so I learned like debt was not the way. Yeah. But I was able to get by year to year doing the most odds and ends jobs, landscaping, construction, retail sales, like anything I can do to get me to the hunting, season, to just quit and like go try to guide or be a spotter. And, again, I wasn't making any daily rates. And if you got a tip, that was cool. But yeah, the biggest moment where I was like, wow, this is like everything I dreamed of was when I was able to finally build that detached shop, because I've always drug around my antler collection from rental house to my parents' house and back, and dragging that whole stack of sheds everywhere my whole life to finally have somewhere to display them and share them with people that are excited to come look at it. That was probably the moment where I was like, wow, like this is awesome.
That's
like,
incredible.
I've
yet to see it. So maybe in the next, before this goes live, maybe I can come out there and you can show me around. We can film a little bit of it, so that we can lay that over the audio and put some video to it.
Yeah, no, we should go. I mean, it's so fun because I'll get people that come over and they're like, well, can I see the shop while I'm over there? I'm like, dude, that's what it's for. Yeah. And to go in there and just look at all the taxidermy and the antlers and all my collection, and just be able to share stories and remember memories of my brother's hunts, my dad's hunts, my Hush's hunts. It's just a cool space to have.
That's awesome. I mean, it seems to me like, as I listen to your story, you're one that just when there's something you want to go after or anything that you're involved in, you're like a sponge. You want to learn every aspect of it and kind of just take it all in and not just coast by or do things surface level. You dive into things. Is that correct? Is that kind of your style of learning?
Yeah, definitely. But there's only like a couple things in my life that have gotten me that interested, right? It is fitness and hunting. Yeah. And none of this podcast is scripted whatsoever. But Mountain Ops was the first company to bridge my two favorite things in the whole world together. Cool. And it was like, the timing of that was so special because like fitness and hunting didn't really blend. And when I would share kind of like, you know, I did bodybuilding shows and physique and, you know, so I was whatever, but I would try to like correlate the two together, and it was not well received at all. People just, you don't need to have a six pack to hunt. And I'm like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like I go hunt, I get in shape to go hunt, I get the meat, I take the meat, I eat the meat, I go to the gym, like, you know, and it's like, these are my two favorite things in the whole world. And there are two things in my life that I've never let go of, and it's fitness and hunting. So when Mountain Ops came and bridged that gap for me, and there was maybe one other company at the time doing it, but it just didn't speak to me.
Right.
It never connected to me. So I had the gym supplements, and then I had my hunting lifestyle, and I legit had social media pages for both.
Yeah.
I had a page called Fit to Fitter, and you can even look on YouTube, like search Eric Chesser Men's Physique. I'd document, you know, working out and dieting and posing and all that stuff. That's awesome. And then over here, I had the Eric Chesser hunting stuff. But man, when Mountain Ops came, man, that was just the moment that my two passions in life, the things that have forged me into who I am, everything I've ever done is I've had taken those two things with me my whole life, and Mountain Ops brought them together, and it was just like this, like, dude, finally.
That's amazing. That is so cool. Oh, I love that. And when did the passion for the fitness side come in? I mean, you were hunting and filming from, you know, 11, 10 years old. I don't know. When did you start to find that passion and was it a direct correlation to like, I want to do this so that I can hunt better, I
still don't know if I've uncovered all the answers to that question, but I'll share what I've discovered as I've gotten older and I can reflect back. I was the kid in elementary school that would like put like boot camp style workouts together for me and my friends.
Really?
Like I remember being across the street at my buddy's house, doing pull-ups on his bunk bed. We stuffed a stuff sack to be like a punching bag, and we had a circuit, like push-ups over here, pull-ups over there, then you punch the punching bag and you all switch. And these were like neighborhood friends. And I remember we would flex our muscles and, you know, like look at, you know, like, whoa, like flex your biceps. So that was at a very young age.
Was that because you saw somebody else doing that?
I'm trying to figure that out, Trevor. I really don't know, but the only thing I can relate it to is comics and He-Man.
Oh, interesting.
Right? At my age, I'm 41. It was Spider-Man, X-Men, He-Man, you know, that type of stuff, and they're always muscular.
Yeah.
They always had, you know, big Ninja Turtles, right? Shredded abs.
Yep.
So I can't say for sure, but I know that I was surrounded by a lot of athletes. I was always in team sports, and it was, you know, sit-ups, run laps. So I was always very athletic and very fit. But somewhere along the way, probably Terminator era and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think that's when I kind of had an interest for like the bodybuilding, like the aesthetics of it. Not just like, oh, I can run, but like actually building up your physique. So I would probably say Arnold Schwarzenegger had a lot to do with that. I remember in middle school, I had my parents helped me sign up for a gym membership in middle school. So there was a big gym, it's called Lifestyles 2000, not far across the street from West Jordan Middle School. Yeah. And so my mom would drop me off at the gym before school. I could go get a workout, and then I would walk myself to middle school. So my love for working out goes so far back.
That's awesome.
And things weren't always great at home. I had a sister who was just in and out of trouble all the time. That caused a lot of stress at the house. And, you know, again, she partied, I didn't party. She would bring friends over. Like, home wasn't always like the most comfortable place for me. Like, I love my family to death, but I had to get away.
Gotcha.
And so I found the gym, a gym or the mountains was my getaway from my home life. And the more I've learned, you know, grown old to kind of reflect back on my childhood, okay, what was it like? The gym and hunting, those are my things, but why? I think a lot of it was to get out. Yeah. To get out of my home. That was my safe place. It was something I can have control over. It wasn't like team sports. Like, if I worked out, I got the results. If I did the work in hunting, I got the results. So I started to move away from the team sports into these solo adventures, whether it was working out or going shed hunting, and where I can reap the reward from my work ethic and not other people's.
Wow. That's really cool to know the origins of that, and to know the escape you were going to find, that safe place and the freedom to live your life and to do those things. What's your fitness routine look like right now? And how have you seen the hunting industry evolve over time, where at first you said like people are like, oh, that's not part of what we do, but obviously Mountain Ops has found a way to help people do that. Like how have you seen that grow, and what are you doing to maintain that?
Yeah, so it's shifted. Mountain Ops is a big part of that, you know. I think more people who get out and want to build their experience, you know, kind of lean towards like, well, I want to hike in there, right? Like, so I think there's just a blend of people wanting an experience that takes a little more physical effort. So now there's education around, you know, content is readily available, and people who go experience maybe their elk hunt for the first time and get their butt kicked. Yeah. Now they know, dude, my legs are sore. I didn't recover. I wasn't sleeping well. So next time, and because of that, I couldn't get to that next canyon. I didn't dare drop down to get that bull that I saw. And so the next time they're like, I'm not going to have those limitations. So now people are starting to accept, like, if I'm going to live this healthy lifestyle, it could increase my odds on the mountain to hunt, which is super cool. And then again, I think it's the whole, like, then I go get the meat and I can take that back, and that can be the staple of my diet to get me in shape. And through supplementation and workout and exercise, I can prepare myself for the next fall.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's way more well received, you know, more than it ever was.
Yeah.
Like Cameron Haynes probably had a big role in that. Yeah. He's obviously into fitness and running and marathons and everything in between, and bow hunting. But I think people are just like, just passionate, you know, like, especially in Utah. I've learned that people in Utah are passionate. Whatever lifestyle they may live, that's the shirts they wear, that's the podcast they listen to, that's their lifestyle, you know? So I think people are adopting this hunting fitness lifestyle because the rewards of it. I mean, it's so cool.
And I've found that it trickles into so many other aspects of their lives where they weren't expecting, where maybe it was like to okay, I'm going to join this, I want to hunt better next time, but then they're finding the energy for their kids or for their spouse or for other activities in life, for their work, you know, and they're like, wow, this is like this mission of Mountain Ops and Hush, it's like actually playing into so many aspects of my life. And then that has a major transformation and a connection for a brand with their people, right? Because it kind of taps into so many aspects of their lives. And so I appreciate what you've done to bring awareness to that, because for me, I have a major passion of seeing people live life to the fullest, like time and attention with those things and the people that matter most. To be present in those moments is so important. And I'm learning that more and more as I age and as, you know, things happen in life. And it's one of those things where when I hear that somebody was taking our product, seeing, you know, some transformation, and it benefited them in a hunt, but then it you know, my relationship with my wife or my kids is, then I'm like, okay, that's like the tip of the spear for me. Like that's most important, you know, and it's been incredible. But it could never really be done without the partnerships with people like you. Like that's where I just am extremely grateful that I've been able to be a part of this ride and be a part of getting to know people like you, understand a new industry, a new lifestyle. Man, I look back and I just got to pinch myself because I've been so blessed and fortunate to have these associations. So,
well, do you ever wonder, like, who would Trevor be, you know, if you didn't even discover hunting, right? Or maybe Mountain Ops didn't ever come to fruition. Who's Trevor? Like, where is he? What is he doing?
100%.
Does that ever cross your mind?
All the time. And then what it drives me to is just and I'm a sweaty-eyed guy, but like a major gratitude for people like you, for industry opportunities, for the Harbertsons, for Joel Pilcher, for whoever it is that's been along my path that like blessed me with new opportunities, new avenues, new whatever it is. And you know, our core value at Mountain Ops, recognizing God, I can just look and say, I could never share this story without saying there was a major hand of God involved with the people, with the opportunities, with the new passions of hunting. Like, I would have never thought, like, as I've dove into my own family history, my dad grew up in a hunting family, but he would go out with his father and he was drunk and he was partying and it was a horrible experience for my dad. He didn't take it like you and go off and do his own thing. He took it as like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah, this is hunting. I don't want to do that.
And so it skipped that generation. And I'm, that probably happens quite often. For my mom, she grew up in a family where the dad and the brothers, they all hunted, but the daughters didn't. So my mom would be there for the pictures when the bull came home, and they would consume the meat, as a family, and they needed it to live on. And she loved that. But I've got pictures of her holding a rifle and holding a bull rack, and it's
so
like,
cool.
But that was the only experience she had with hunting to that point. And so for me, it's like, hey, if we're going to do this, let's do it together as a family, men and women, like my daughters, my wife, my mom, like let's all experience this together. And it's because of this that's all transpired. And there's these moments where I don't know if I wouldn't have seen your firebull if if I would have just been like, well, these people love going out on the mountain. I like going out on my bike. I like going out on my skis. But there's these people and moments where I'm just like, thank you, God, for like inspiring that, instilling that, and blessing Eric with this passion and this gift for what he does that then blesses my life, and when we put those gifts to use in the way that God intends them to, look at the ripple effect that occurs. And I think that's what I can say about Hush and you guys as individuals is look at the ripple effect that you're creating, and it's you're demonstrating to people that these are moments that matter most, and we're capturing them so that you can be inspired to go and do those same things in your life. I just think it's so powerful. But yeah, I think about it all the time. What would I be doing? Yeah. I love nutrition. I love the product side of things. And that's probably, I would have been doing something like that, but I would have probably still been selling through doctor's offices. Yeah. And that's not as fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a couple different jobs in the gym sales, membership sales. And it's always a safe place to fall back on, but I always wondered. I worked at Sportsman's Warehouse for years. I'm like, man, I always thought I was going to be like a manager at a retail store if I had to go that route. Like, obviously the dream was like, I wish I could make money picking up shed antlers and making videos of deer. That didn't seem possible. So I'd always be like, oh man, maybe I'll just be like gym sales or something,
That's interesting.
Guess we'll never know.
We'll never know, huh? But that's all right. I think, one day at a time, one step at a time, and it's just incredible. But it's awesome to see what you guys are doing. What's next and up and coming for Hush, and anything on the horizon that's different or new or exciting?
Yeah. So, we did the movie night for a handful of years, and then the COVID came, and that just how that was. You guys had a movie tour planned out, and it all got scrambled. Yeah. It sounds like we're bringing the movie back this year at Hunt Expo. So we'll be releasing 2 never seen elk hunts. Cool. Casey and Brian went and hunted the White Mountain Apache Reservation in Arizona. Got to hunt the capital of the world for elk. So we're going to share some of those. And as you know, Trevor, we always donate those money made. So we'll find, whatever the charity is that we choose or whatever. So that's coming on, and then Hunt Expo's back at Salt Lake City this year over Valentine's weekend. It's always February 14th.
It is, huh?
And we have a big booth there with some new merchandise. We'll drop some new designs and clothing and stuff like that. But every year we really do. We just we have these team meetings where we're like, what is the next thing? And we dropped the Semi-Live series, which people love. We're doing hunt films now that are like maybe a little longer and more in depth, and we drop them every Sunday. And sometimes we don't have a plan, for what the next big thing is. We just always fall back to the why, which is, our 3 pillars at Hush is new hunter and fishing acquisition. So bringing awareness to hunting and fishing, bringing awareness to conservation efforts, public land access, things like that. And then just being good people in our community, giving back to our community, whatever that means, local community or hunting community. If we stick to that and we continue to make content that is inspiring, family friendly, that's one of my favorite compliments is a dad can come and say, hey, my little boy, you guys made hunting cool. And I love that I can let my boy watch your videos and it's family friendly. So we just stick to the why and continue to document. Content has shifted year to year. We one year we did like 85 videos in a row where it was like every day, and it was a vlog. Like it could be at home or it could be on the mountain. We've kind of leaned towards a hunt film schedule, But honestly, when I think about like our content, I just want to take it back to like what started us. And I love cinematic films personally, and I love the high end stuff, and there's a place for that. But I just want to go document and share what I love, and hoping that by doing that, you can impact lives positively.
So cool. Yeah, that's powerful, man. I you guys are doing so much good. And I think of your approach, the why is always consistent. It's kind of you're hunting. It's almost like a hunt, because you're like, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know what, next week's going to bring or next month, but we're going to stick with the mission. We're going to stick with the plan. And as things come about, it's awesome to be nimble that way, and to just be ready for whatever comes your way. I loved your story, in the beginning about buying a camera, and it kind of all starts with this camera, right? And you're creating content that your parents had financed for you. I feel like there's some content not too long ago about you doing some stuff for your parents. Giving back to them. You guys are doing stuff for the community, and I know you've done stuff up at Primary Children's, and you've given hunts away and wheelchairs away and all sorts of stuff. But what was that like to be able to recognize your parents and maybe some of the sacrifices they made to allow your dreams to come about, and then you're in a position now to do some things for them? Yeah,
it's very special. And shout out to Mom and Dad for always supporting me. I mean, they were first to be in the driveway when I pull up with a new truckload of sheds or whatever. And my dad I could sit and tell him stories, and he likes to hunt, so he connects with that a lot. But yeah, growing up, my family struggled a lot. Like I overheard conversations that probably the kids aren't supposed to hear. And I know that at times that we were months and months behind on the mortgage, and Mom is yelling at Dad because he bounced a check at the gas station, and now there's negative money plus a $20 overdraft fee. And I know that my parents went through a lot. My dad tried to start a business, and he's very capable to do the work he did. He was an iron worker, so he can do the work. But the back end logistics, taxes, paperwork caught up to him, and we had to pay back a lot of taxes, it sounds like. So super thankful that my parents held it together. Even through those hard times, they got us Christmas, we got present. Like, we still lived what I thought was a normal life. But as you get older and you can look back, you're like, okay, we were poor. Yeah. We were barely squeezing by. Dad was overdrafting at times, and we were in a bad spot. So again, I never made a lot of money. And I remember there's times where my mom would say, hey, we need help with the lights, the garbage. Like, can you take on a bill? And I was pretty like, yo, you're the parent. Like, you're supposed to do that, right? Like, I didn't know better. I didn't have any money in the first place, but I was very defensive. Like, you're the parents. Like, my friends don't do that. Like, yeah, sure, I'm living here, but you're already paying for the place anyways, right? Like, maybe someone's hearing what I'm saying, being like, yeah, I've been through that, but I didn't understand, like, maybe even paying the light bill could have really helped my mom. So as I got older and this thing became a success, and again, I made $18,000, $20,000 into my 30s. I can live on $20,000. So I knew I can get by with the minimum. Yeah. So when money started to come, I just had more than I ever knew what to do with. So when it was kind of a cool story, because I always wanted to help my parents remodel their house. It was built in probably the 70s and has not been touched since. It had a little, I think they call it a gallery kitchen or galley kitchen, where it's literally a hall. Yeah. And there's, sink on one side, stove on the other side. You literally open the stove, you have nowhere to pass through. And my mom went through our generation, which there was 4 of us, and the grandkids in that house. The house was just beat to death. And my brother stepped up and was going to do the floor, like in the living room. And this was the old style, was like small rooms with archways. Yep. And so it was wasn't very effective use of the space, because there's just a bunch of tiny rooms. So I went over there, and I remember being like, if we're going to tear out the floor, we might as well tear out the wall. And then if we're going to tear out the wall, we might as well replace, the ceiling and get rid of the air conditioner. Basically, if we were going to do it, I wanted to do it and build my mom her dream kitchen and dream house. And I had my friend Zach Gordon, and I owe this man to death, because he's one of my longest friends. We haven't connected a whole lot lately, but he's a general contractor. So he took the job and for nothing. He managed it and would, do the plumbing and get the guys. And I had when I put it on social media, I had so many people offer to help me. I said, hey guys, I'm going to help remodel my parents' house. And, if you're this or that, like I'd rather hire someone who supports me. I'll hire you. And, you get a plumber over there, you get someone who does windows, and then they don't even tell you, but they kick you back or do it for cost. And so just people started showing up and blessing me while I was trying to bless my parents. And then in that process, I had a stack of sheds, and I had just bought my house. So I finally had the garage and a room for my sheds, which normally I would sell off because I need the space. And I was like, I can cut those into dog chews. And so I got on the social media and I said, hey guys, if I cut up my antlers into dog chews so I can earn some money, earn being like, I want to earn it. I don't want handouts, but I'll like, what can I do to provide some value? So, dude, I sold more dog chews than I could cut, bro. Like, I was DMing people, Venmo, PayPal, get me your shipping address, and people were just on board to help me while I was trying to help my parents. And a dog chew business came from that.
Wow.
That's a whole nother cool story, Trevor, which you would love. I can share it right now if you want.
Let's do it. I want to hear it.
Okay, so as I'm trying to earn some money to pay for my parents' home remodel, I start selling dog chews. It's overwhelming. I mean, to manage all the orders and ship them out, I'm like, I need a .com.
Yeah.
And it was actually Jordan Harbertson's wife that came up with this idea, calling it Rack Snacks. So when you spell out Rack Snacks correctly, RACKS, was used. And you know how hard it is to get a .com. Remember mountainops.com? It was get Mountain Ops until you could finally acquire the actual .com. So as I'm trying to name this dog chew business, I stylized it in a way that it was misspelled on purpose to get the .com. So I spelled it RAKSNAKS.
Gotcha.
And then that way I can get the Instagram, get the .com for cheap. So I'm like, cool, Rack Snacks. Well, before I launched this, which this was January and February was coming, I was going to launch the website in February. I decided to Google, like, is there any meaning for RAK? It could be a gang or it could be like some slang word, right? Like, so I'm like, what is RAK? The first word, Trevor, random acts of kindness.
No way.
I was like, dude, this is the name of the company. It all started from random act of kindness. Doing a kind act for my parents. People jumping into doing a kind act, either helping me with the build or buying a dog chew. And Random Acts of Kindness has a day, and it's February 17th.
No way.
And I was like, dude, I'm dropping this on February 17th.
So cool.
So the name Rack Snacks stands for Random Acts of Kindness through dog chews. And through selling dog chews, I'm able to give back. And we've done all kinds of fun stuff, from pay for people's groceries, go give someone a $20 bill, pay for ice cream at a Baskin Robbins, donate to the shelter where we've got our dogs, and give back to people, pets, like anything like that. And that's a big part of, it's like, sure, we sell dog chews, but what it does is it just allows me to give back more.
It's a resource for all the good that you can do.
It's just like, who can I help? And so we've sponsored giving trees during Christmas. We've done fun acts of kindness. We donated $500 last week that helped pay for, I think it was like a pit bull mom, have her puppies, and she needed a surgery. So yeah, anything that helps me give back.
Awesome,
so like,
man.
That all generated from remodeling my parents' house, which, by the way, turned out, I mean, you would not recognize the house because it went from a 70s box house to like open floor.
Were they living in this while you were doing that?
Yeah.
So they could see the progress coming along and understand the vision behind it all. And what was the thought in your mom's heart and mind at the time? My mom is always someone who takes care of everybody first. She raised the kids. She took us all to soccer practice, all to baseball practice. She supported me with all the antlers and all this hunting stuff, I mean, when I would do my fitness competitions, she would cook me chicken and broccoli, and she's just the best mom. She's gone through my siblings, and then she's helped raise the grandkids, because my sister she had a kid really young, which made for a lot of trials, and grandma and grandpa stepped up and helped a lot. So I always knew she wanted a bigger kitchen because she likes to host and take care of everybody. And the house was just old. It just wasn't updated, but
when that got finished, like, it's almost like it gave my mom confidence, and she was having friends over, you know, and like, it just, I don't know, just to see my mom happy. That's like all I wanted, you know, because she's given me everything. That was just one way to give back. Because I could never do it when I was younger. I didn't have the means, the network, the money. So to be able to do it and just have it be like, it's just here, you know, this is your new house. We had a swamp cooler and it never worked. Like, we were always so hot. The swamp cooler would just leak, and there's mold, and you know, Dad never knew how to fix it. I didn't know what the heck how to fix it. It's like, why isn't anybody fixing this? But now I know, because we were broke. We couldn't afford to fix it. So we got central air in there, you know, a heater that works, central air that works, and just to know that they're home, that they're comfortable, that they love it, that they're proud to bring people into it. It's just like, that's the coolest thing.
That's amazing, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Powerful story. I'm just proud to call you a friend. I mean, learning more about this, understanding kind of the heart and soul of Eric Chesser and what you've been through, and the wise purpose in going through some of the things you go through, and how it opens your eyes to, you know, how you want to live and what you want to do. And then knowing your life, I mean, you can see it on social and see it in the interactions you have with people, but it's awesome to know the story behind the random acts of kindness. Like, that's who you are. I think that speaks to exactly who you are.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that example, and appreciate understanding a little more of the backstory now, and how awesome for your parents, and especially your mom, to have that joy, happiness, confidence to invite people over to make connections. You know, life is all about connections, and to feel like you have a space to then do that, and to feel confident enough to do that. That's incredible. I don't know if I want to go into too much. That was really, really powerful right there. We might want to end right there. Other than, you know, I heard through the grapevine that you've had some fun things happen this last year in your own personal life. Is there? Yeah, I think there was a little mention of it on one of the videos. Tell us what's gone on this last year, this last summer with you.
Yeah, so came into the office today and people were like, "Is it true? Is it true?" And it's like, man, I left a little sliver of my friend Dreo saying a prayer in our last hunting film. It's called The Perfect Plan. You can go find it on the Hush channel. And he slides in there, you know, during his prayer that he wants to pray for my new marriage. And I haven't said anything publicly about it. I haven't posted on social media. I've kind of kept it private. We've kind of kept that our, you know, special to us. But I'm married now.
Married man.
Married man. 2 dogs.
That's awesome.
My beautiful wife, Kate, who holds down the fort when I travel. You know, as we've done this over the years, everyone would be like, what type of, like, it's going to take a woman to, like, let Eric go hunt and travel a lot. And sure, as soon as Kate came into the picture, all my friends, are you sure you're going to be able to handle the hunting season with Eric? He's gone a lot. And she holds it down, and we've got 2 dogs, Jade Pup and Happy.
That's awesome.
I kind of got into she's very passionate about dogs. Like, her desire to save dogs is like mine to find antlers, you know?
That's
and
awesome.
I try to show her my love for her through supporting that. And that's led to us having 2 dogs, 2 pit bull, one from the shelter, and one was for sale at the DI in a shopping cart.
Really?
Yeah, it was only like 2 or 3 weeks old. The whole litter was 3 weeks old, but the mom had died.
Wow.
So they were bottle babies. So we took 4 in, and now one of them is ours. So yeah, I've got dogs, got the wife, business is good.
It's awesome.
You know, we made it through the bubble of the COVID bubble where everybody blew up, and, you know, we kind of saw a dip when it comes to the business, and we're trying to navigate through that. And but yeah, thanks to the support of so many people that still continue to buy our shirts and our hats. And I always just think, like, these aren't necessity items, right? Like, the first thing you need, like, you need a roof over your head, you need to feed your family. You don't need a Hush hat. You don't need a Hush shirt, but people continue to show their love and support to me and my partners through purchasing on our website just can't thank all of them enough.
Yeah.
You know, and then the partners. Mountain Ops has stuck by our side through all that too. And we've been partners for so dang long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's truly allowed all of us over at Hush to live what we consider our dream life. You know, so it's
awesome.
cool to be a part of the whole Mountain Ops family. Like you said, I haven't seen you for a while. We need more of that.
We need more of that for sure. It makes me, just understanding more of it gives me a whole new appreciation and desire to go buy another shirt, or to go support you guys, however, just because you guys are providing something that brings joy into people's lives, entertainment that a family could sit down and watch together, like education, conservation, the give back. I know there's so many families you've helped, so many individuals you've helped. I mean, we could do another, and we should just do another podcast about what you guys are doing with the charity work and the conservation. I want to dive into that because I feel like Mountain Ops is really good on the Conquer Hunger side and the charity side that way. But with our partners, what can we do more to support that? And then on the, Brush for Bucks and conservation, what more can Mountain Ops do in collaboration with our partners? That could be a side conversation, but I'd love to dive into what you guys are doing that way and kind of shed some light on it with our audience as well. Most of the people are going to know who you guys are, but we're growing, and there's new people coming on board from all around the country, and so they might be hearing about Hush for the first time. Yeah. I don't know, but there's more I want to talk to you about that way. But congratulations on the marriage.
Thank you.
That's incredible. And everyone knew at some point some lucky lady was going to be able to snatch you up. But sounds like you found an incredible woman.
Yeah.
And you guys can support each other in those passions of life. And
yeah, it's awesome, man. It's pretty wild. There's a lot of change. We got baptized together right before we got married. Yeah, it's been an awesome year.
What has that meant to you? I didn't know that either.
I was like, yeah, Trevor, nobody knows these things, right? I put a lot of vlogs out there, but I put a lot of shed hunts out there, but you guys don't know everything. I can't tell you everything. But yeah, man, like, I know this is something you're very passionate about, your faith, and it's a part of your social media. It's a big part of this company, Scripture Sunday. I know I've read the core values that I'm hanging up in the bullpen for years, and I've always, in life, I see like buckets, right? Like finance, business, relationships, family, health, spiritual.
Yeah.
I have made some very healthy habits. And there's certain things that are just automatic for me. Yeah. But the spiritual bucket was suffering. Not suffering, but like I wasn't depositing anything into it. But it's always been this thing, like I felt the urge to, I just don't know how to, And I have tons of friends that, when we're hunting, we have these deep, meaningful conversations, and that's when you start to explore everyone's opinions and you start to just feel the spirit, and like it's always been this thing that I'm like, I need to put attention, but I just don't, or I hadn't for years. Yeah. My family grew up Christian. My mom would send me to like summer school, Bible studies. So it's always been like in the picture, and we weren't really active in any type of church or anything. But yeah, recently it's Kate who went to, she found a Christian church and she started going. She invited me, and it was kind of like a negotiation. Like I'll go once a month, like, because I'm traveling a lot. Like I'm not trying to dodge it, but like I'll say I'll go at least once a month. Yeah. And man, church is so fun because it's like every time I go, it's like a self-development class, and you walk out of there feeling so good. And maybe for some people, maybe the gym is hard to get to, but when the workout's done, they feel good. Yeah, 100%. For me, like I wake up and I'm just like Mountain Ops Yeti off to the gym. Like I love that. But for me, the church, like that, it's hard for me. It's not a habit to go to church or to read scripture at night. But every time I do, it's you love it, right? So it's something I'm trying to create, those healthy habits, trying to attend church more and pray. Yeah. I find I'm not a huge prayer, but I always would pray in the mountains. And I would always tell my friends, like, I know I don't go to church, but like, dude, when I'm out there, that's when I thank God. Yeah. Thank Jesus. And look at this creation. Look at these elk. Look at this river. Look at this butterfly. Like, thank you for everything out here. So I've always had a spiritual connection, but my relationship hasn't always been the strongest, and my faith hasn't always been the strongest. So I just picture that spiritual bucket starting to make those deposits,
cool.
Starting to read scripture at night before bed. And, you know, it's so cool, dude. Like I knew if you were to learn that today, like you'd be really proud of me.
I'm super proud. I got this major smile on my face right now, and just like, because I always have seen you as like this spiritual individual, this somebody that there was just a depth to you that I didn't know how to pinpoint it, but I was like, he's caring with people. He's passionate about what here's what I'd say. You just said that the film, I haven't seen it yet, but it's called The Perfect Plan. Mm-hmm. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's the elk hunt.
I haven't seen it yet, but I look at your life and the things that you've been through, the experiences you've had, the people that have come into your life, the business that you've built, the charity work you're doing, the random acts of kindness, the finding your spouse, getting married. And ultimately, when all is said and done in my life, and whenever it's part of somebody else's life, I wrote this book called The Conquer Code. It's about Jesus Christ. So when I find that people have found Jesus Christ, which when all is said and done, there is no greater source of peace and of strength and ability and opportunity than when you kind of turn your life over to Him. And so I'm hearing this from you, like, no way, Eric, this is incredible. What it makes me feel as well is like, I am just sorry we haven't been in more regular contact. But man, I am so extremely happy for you.
Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that on here. I didn't even know to even ask that kind of question. So, but the depth of who you are as an individual, it doesn't surprise me that you've just taken those steps. And I'm extremely proud of you, man.
Thank you. You've always set a good example, and it's people have planted seeds in me through my whole life, you know what I mean? And it's those seeds and those conversations with, you know, Ben Shed Crazy and my buddy Dreo and Jordan over the years, and we're out at camps and everyone's sharing their faith and they have these strong testimonies. I never had this strong testimony, you know, but everybody's been just planting seeds in me and praying for me, you know, especially my mom. I know she's always praying for me.
What an incredible, I mean, your mom must be looking at you and just thinking, wow, what a joy. I know for my kids, like, I was once given a blessing, and that blessing stated that my children and the way that their lives played out and the way that they lived would bring me the greatest joy of my life. There's a lot of things we can do in life, but what if the greatest thing we did was bring joy to our parents because of the decisions we're making, and not just our earthly parents, but now this connection that you've been forming with a heavenly Father, you know, and the joy that you must be bringing Him right now in your life. I think you've always brought Him that. Mm-hmm. But then when we make commitments and we take steps of faith that like bring a connection even closer, that's what a parent wants. Yeah. Right? You're doing that for your earthly parents and for your heavenly parents, and you know, those that honor their earthly parents. I know it's a major blessing for them through the eternities because of what you do for your parents here. Man, this is exciting.
Pretty wild. I didn't know where this podcast was going to go today.
Neither did I. I didn't honestly have a plan other than I wanted to catch up and hear some of the Hush story. But it's interesting how integrated or involved especially with what you do, your personal life becomes in the life that you live to provide, you know, and it's out there to the world, and
it's out there.
And you're a man of faith. You're a hunter. You're a fitness individual. You're a husband. I mean, all these things. I could just say, like, I hope people listen into this podcast because maybe there's some things that you're sharing that you haven't shared elsewhere. I don't know, but I just feel the heart and soul of who Eric Chesser is as we discuss. And you're incredible, man. Thank you for blessing my life and the lives of all those around you.
Yeah, absolutely, Trevor. Thanks for everything you've done for Hush and Mountain Ops, that partnership, friendship. We got to go on a hunt.
Let's plan it. Everyone
We're gonna go on a
listening, we're challenging each other. Let's plan it. Let's figure it out, and then we'll film it, obviously, because that you don't go out without it.
No.
And you can teach me how to do more of that, and then we'll put that back out. But man, there's some other things I'd love to dive into, but I don't want to take too much more time. So we'll jump into another podcast if you're okay with that.
I've got one final word.
Yeah.
That's just on my heart.
Good.
I just know there's a lot of people struggling out there. And man, life throws so many different curveballs, and people are dealing with maybe sickness in their family, maybe demonic thoughts and suicidal thoughts, or self-doubt, negative thoughts. And I just feel like the world needs Jesus. I'll say that right here. He's my Lord and Savior. And I just want you guys need to remember, like, we're never alone. Jesus is always there. You can take your troubles to him. We are not meant to be anxiety. We're not meant to have stress. We're not meant to be, have suicidal thoughts. Those are, in my opinion, demonic thoughts. And I just hope that somebody is out there, here's this podcast, and is ready to make a change in your life. You need to find purpose. You need to find passion. You need to have these hobbies. I hope it's hunting, and I hope it's the gym. And it's going to take some work to maybe climb your way out of a dark space. But you have to understand that you're worth more, and God has a bigger plan for you. And once you can feel that and understand that, the sky's the limit. And we're meant to have joy, like you said, Trevor. We're meant to feel peace. And through that, in my opinion, is the teaching of the Bible. It'll lay it out there. It's like a self-development course. Like I said, I did a self-development course, and then the more you learn about the Bible, you're like, yeah, they took all of it from the Bible. Like
Jesus was the perfect example that they use in every self-development leadership principle, all that, right?
So someone out there, make that change today. Get your life together. You're not meant to have depression. You're not meant to have suicidal thoughts. There's so much to be grateful for. This world is such a fun experience. Surround yourself with like-minded folks. Find a community. Again, I hope it's hunting, and I hope it's at the gym. Come watch the Hush channel. Get some, come be a part of the Mountain Ops 90-day challenge. Something like, get involved in something. I just hope there's at least one person that hears this and says, today I'm making that change because I'm not happy where I'm at.
Wow.
So that's all it's been weighing on my heart lately. It had nothing to do with this podcast. And I feel this urge that there's just people that are struggling, and they're not supposed to. And I want them to feel what I have in the fitness and in the gym and in Jesus. And it's like, you probably feel this all the time, Trevor, because you kind of feel like the path that some people need, but you need to plant the seed, but they need the soil to take it and run with it. So anyways, I'm not the best at articulating all my feelings, but someone out there, man, today's the last day of feeling sad and feeling depressed, because tomorrow you're ready to make a change and become the best version of yourself.
That's amazing. Super. I'm not going to even add on to that. Yeah. Just listen to what Eric just said. This has been an incredible episode of the ConquerCast. Eric, love you, brother. Thank you so much.
I should not. Thanks, Trevor, man. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Thanks, everyone.